Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of 6 for 6. We are now in week 9 of the college football season. What a doozy has it been, ladies and gentlemen. We have some ups, some downs, but we are in the midst of a spectacular season all the way around. Very interesting, as I would say, as the college football season has been as of late now, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you look at our overall record from our last episode, we are still struggling, averaging 3 for 3 in our picks. We are the best 500 team you could ever ask for in our picks. So when in doubt, you can count on us for at least getting half of our predictions correct. But I think this week we're going to be on the up and up. Little, we'll say good picks, but that I wouldn't say they could swing us back to another 3-3 outlook. But we'll talk about more of that as we get through tonight's program. But here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Our season 4 record, 36-28-1. Not too shabby for season 4, even though we don't have a lot of episodes, and this is the 12th one part of season 4. As the year closes out, season 5 will start in the new year in 2026. So we got that looking forward to us. So I'm excited about that. So we're going to wrap this up. We probably got maybe, I want to say at least 9 more episodes, because every month has 12. I would say every month has 4 weeks in it. So we at least got 8 towards the end of the year. We got this week. So at least puts us about 9-ish episodes until the end of the year. So we got a lot of games left to select. So that kind of puts us around say about 21 episodes for season 4. So pretty solid season, I would say, with the number of picks that we got. So definitely excited about that. But we're going to make sure we're more dedicated in season 5, more content, more shows. The viewership is going up. I would say on average, we at least get about 4 views, I would say, for the most part. But let me just give you a quick check compared to what last week's episode was. Yep, about four views. Not too shabby, but lifetime of the program since we've been doing it for its own page, we're at 127 views on our YouTube channel. So we're slowly climbing through the ranks. Not too bad about that. We've changed our process behind it. Instead of doing live streams, we're just posting it once we're done. So it has a lot more positive impact for us as a show. So we love to see that. We'll just keep marching up. We'll 200, 500, 1,000, and we'll just keep marching our way through, making it look like a solid performance until 6 for 6 becomes an actual brand and everyone's excited for it. Without further ado, let's get on to tonight's program. First up, ladies and gentlemen, we got the Battle of Kansas. Kansas State versus Kansas. A very one, ladies and gentlemen. Definitely going to be an interesting one with a nice in-state rivalry mixed up into it. But let's break this down. Kansas State is 3-4 with a conference record in the Big 12 of 2-2. Same with Kansas. They're both 2-2. And Kansas has a 4-3 record. So pretty evenly matched. If you're looking at their head-to-head games that they have similar matchups, we're going to look at the UCF game. That's going to be our key indicator for this. Kansas State won that game 34-20 compared to Kansas 27-20. So it looks like Kansas offense is slightly worse in that sense, but their defenses are about the same, holding UCF to 20 points. So that's where we are with that. But Kansas is at home. When they're at home, it's tough. They struggle with Cincinnati losing by 3, but take care of West Virginia very convincingly at home. But when they're on the road, they tend to not be so hot. So since they're home, I think that's going to be the benefit of the doubt for this Kansas squad. Kansas State, on the other hand, when they're at home, they're pretty much dominate, but when they look like they're on the road, they tend to lose. If we're looking at the last 5 of those games, 2 of them were on the road and they lost them both. So I think that will be a continued trend for this Kansas State team. So give me Kansas to win this matchup. You can catch Kansas State versus Kansas Saturday, noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific time on TNT. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we got some Big Ten action for you. We got Minnesota versus Iowa. Definitely a true defensive battle for Iowa as they've been starting to roll in the Big Ten with a conference record of 3-1, but they both share that, and they have an overall record of 5-2 in this matchup. Iowa is a clear favorite with this one, but it's their defense that's going to keep Minnesota at bay. If they can get past Iowa's defense, this is their game for the taking. So if we're looking at some eye-to-eye matchups, it's the Rutgers game that we're going to take a quick peek at. Minnesota beats Rutgers 31-28, very close. But Iowa's defense stood tall against Rutgers, and the score was 38-28. So again, both defenses are holding Rutgers to 28 points, but Iowa was probably able to give their offense a short field to get those extra points in, which definitely helped them out in the mix. But if you look at Minnesota for their other games, they took care of Purdue convincingly. Nebraska was a dominant fashion, but Iowa was battle tested against a wounded Penn State team without their head coach, without their starting quarterback. So I don't know what we want to take that as a win or not. It's very difficult to say, but I think Minnesota is going to find a way to win it, even though they're not a favorite. They only have a 21% chance to win this game compared to Iowa's 78.6% chance to win. So give me Minnesota to win this matchup, and this one's definitely going to be a close one, and it's very tough to win in Iowa for that very reason. But you can catch this game, Minnesota-Iowa, Saturday, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on CBS. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, in our fourth slot, we got UCLA versus number 2 in the nation, Indiana, Saturday, noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on Fox. UCLA, 3-4. Conference record, 3-1. Indiana, perfect 7-0. Conference record, 4-0. Looking beautiful in this matchup. Indiana's impressive victory over Oregon really makes a statement in that one. But then UCLA taking care of Penn State when they had James Franklin in the mix. But the things we're going to look at is Michigan State. They had the same record, 38-13. So I think it's going to be a very close, interesting matchup. Even though it's a 96% chance of victory for Indiana to win because of that convincing win in Oregon to beat Oregon, I just think this Indiana team is going to make a statement by putting UCLA in the place. And I don't think UCLA is going to go down without a fight. Definitely going to be a game that everyone's going to keep their eyes tuning to as the game grows later into the afternoon. So give me Indiana to win it, but I think it's going to be a very interesting matchup, if not might be even possibly close. But I think Indiana has been beating teams at least by 2 possessions, if not by a possession, looking very convincingly in how they're winning a lot of their matchups. So give me Indiana win it. UCLA, number 2, Indiana, Saturday, noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on Fox, and I have Indiana winning this matchup. And our third slot, ladies and gentlemen, we got Texas A&M, number 3 in the nation versus LSU's number 20, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC, and I have A&M winning it. Let's break this down, though. We're looking at Texas A&M. They have very convincing wins, but then they're beating teams by a slim, razor-thin margin. They beat Arkansas 45-42, took care of Florida, Mississippi State in the mix, Auburn not too great, and Notre Dame beating them by 1. Where LSU struggled against Vanderbilt, took care of South Carolina, struggled with Ole Miss, but beat Florida 20-10. So I think A&M has a better offense in this instance, but LSU has that defense that might keep them at bay. But I think A&M is going to find a way to keep that dominating fashion. Even though they're going into Death Valley, it's going to be a tall task. I think A&M is able to keep the streak alive and move on to 8-0 and 5-0 in the conference. So you can catch Texas A&M number 3 in the nation versus LSU's number 20 in the nation, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC. And I have A&M winning this matchup. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, in the 2 slot. Oops, their number 2 slot didn't get copied over right. Let me just copy over that now. But our number 2 slot, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the following game. We have, as it saves, if it will allow me to have it. There we go. Is Missouri, who's number 15 in the nation, versus Vanderbilt, number 10 in the nation. Looking pretty solid for Vanderbilt, coming off of a solid victory over LSU. But if we're looking at the Alabama game, Vanderbilt struggled, and Missouri was able to lose by 3. This Missouri team might be able to stun them, but Vanderbilt at home has been very dominant. We're looking at the LSU game. They were at home, and they won convincingly. It went on the road to beat South Carolina convincingly as well with 31-7. But when you look at Missouri when they played South Carolina, 29-20. I like this Vanderbilt squad to take care of business, knock off Missouri, and keep adding more wins to their resume to make them look like a SEC as they're becoming. So you can catch number 15 Missouri versus number 10 Vanderbilt, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ESPN, and I have Vanderbilt winning it. Before we reveal the game of the week, let's do a quick recap on our select picks that we have thus far. In our 6th slot, we have Kansas State versus Kansas, Saturday, noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on TNT. I have Kansas winning this matchup. And our 5th slot, we have Minnesota versus Iowa, Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on CBS. And our 4th slot, we have UCLA. If my clicker is gonna show, we have UCLA versus number 2 Indiana at noon Eastern and 9 a.m. Pacific Time on Fox, and I have Indiana winning it. After that, we have Texas A&M, who's number 3 in the nation, versus LSU, who's number 20 in the nation. You can catch it Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC. And I have A&M winning this matchup. In our 2 slot, we have number 15 Missouri versus number 10 Vanderbilt on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ESPN. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, the game of the week. I have Ole Miss, number 8 in the nation, versus Oklahoma, who's number 13 in the nation, Saturday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on ABC. Both teams looking hot in the SEC. Ole Miss coming off of a sad loss to Georgia. But Oklahoma got embarrassed against Texas and then laid a butt whooping on South Carolina. Now we're trying to compare teams in there. They haven't played teams in the last 5 weeks to help me give a good validation on it. But the Georgia loss hurts more. But Oklahoma, it just fluctuates. Within the SEC, they don't really score more than 30 points. So their offense tends to struggle. And I think Ole Miss can put up points when they want to. But at times, they too can struggle. Definitely going to be a great game. I think Ole Miss will find a way to squeak this one out and advance to 7-1 in this matchup. Even though Oklahoma has a 55% chance to win, I just like Ole Miss to take care of business and get the job done. So you can catch Ole Miss number 8 in the nation versus number 13 Oklahoma at noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on ABC. Let's get a quick recap, and we'll get you on out of here so you can enjoy your week of college football, week 9, baby. All right, in our 6th slot, we have Kansas versus Kansas State, Saturday, noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on TNT. Kansas winning it. In our 5th slot, we have Minnesota versus Iowa, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on CBS, and I have Minnesota winning it. Next up, in our 4th slot, we got UCLA versus Indiana, who's number 2 in the nation, Saturday, noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. Pacific Time on Fox. And I have Indiana winning this matchup. In our 3rd slot, ladies and gentlemen, we have Texas A&M, who's number 3 in the nation, versus LSU, who's number 20 in the nation, Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 4:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ABC. And I have Texas A&M winning it. Then we have Missouri, ladies and gentlemen, who's number 15 in the nation, versus Vanderbilt, number 10 in the nation, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time on ESPN. And I have Vanderbilt winning this matchup. And our number 1, ladies and gentlemen, the game of the week. We have number 8, Ole Miss, who's versus number 13, Oklahoma. noon Eastern time, 9 p.m. Pacific time on ABC, and I have Ole Miss winning it. Ladies and gentlemen, our last week's episode, we went 3-3. Hopefully, we get a nice 4-2 in the mix, or maybe a 5-1, or the perfect 6-0 in our predictions, ladies and gentlemen. But remember, our overall record for season 4 thus far is 36-28-1. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of 6 for 6, and we'll hope to catch you here next week on 6 for 6. So long for now. Bye-bye.